Okay, guys. So we are starting part 4 of our Docker. Okay, so till now what we talked about is we talked about all of the Docker basic commands, how to run a daemon client, how to run a host, or how to run commands from your client, and commanding your Docker host to create up a containers, pull up images, and then show it. Okay, so one of the basic image which I would love to show you up here is like we further move is like the complete workflow of the Docker. How does it interacts with host everything? Okay, so this I got from one of the sessions and it's very interesting. And let me project this and then I'll show. So in the complete Docker workflow, what we have is a Docker client. Okay. So my Docker client is nothing but it would be commands which would be running um, from our local. So it can be the commands which I am running from this particular bash and the modules which are related and which are supporting it. So those are the clients which are required. Or the basic client is quick start terminal which we have, okay, which has all docker docker quick start terminal. Okay, so this is a docker quick start terminal which is a basic you can take it as it's a client from where we are actually we open this and we start, it's sort of bash shell, bash command and interface only from where we actually run all of the commands. So that is our client. And then we have Docker host. So Docker host is running inside our virtual box. Okay. So this is our Docker. So we have this virtual box, right? So yes. Inside this we have our Docker host which is running and which had booted from boot to docker.iso. Okay, so this is our host. Okay, and client interacts with host and it tells the host to and there's a daemon process inside underneath it. Okay, it tells that particular daemon process to carry out certain activities. It can be pulling out image from Docker Hub, or it can be any container registries. If you go and pull an image from Azure, so you need to pull from Azure Container Registry. If you are pulling default from Docker Hub, then your daemon client, which is inside this particular box, would talk with hub.docker.com to get the images, okay, into your local, I mean into the host, and then make or run a containers on top of that particular image. So it would boot up from image and then it would run a containers using those particular images. So that what is Docker host and the Docker daemons inside underneath it we have Docker daemon, and the containers also runs inside the host, so it has been included inside it. And since the images are pulled from container registries like Docker Hub or Nginx or Couchbase or from anywhere, Couchbase image, or it's an Ubuntu image or Linux image, whatever we get from Docker Hub, or it may be ACR, Azure Container Registry, any other place, and it would be come on finally and sit onto the image collections in your Docker host. Okay, so everything, whatever activities we are talking, would be carried out underneath a Docker host. Okay, and then like this, as I said, like we have client bash or the cookstart terminal from where we are actually guiding out or giving out the commands. So one more thing is which you would look into is like, let's go back to the original slide, which we would love to know is like when you run a Docker, since you're running a Docker image, since this is a Linux, right? Linux VM, which we are running on this particular virtual box. Okay, so we say something called as headless start. Okay, and when we say as a command it as a headless start, so it won't generate a new CLI or command line for whatever activities which are running inside this particular Linux environment. Okay, so rather we are by doing the headless start or the virtual box or the kinematics do that headless start without unknowingly. But what it does is like it doesn't make you or create some confusion that like like instead of you running command from any other, your favorite command line interface like PowerShell or Bash. Okay, you doesn't need to sit on to that particular CLI where the system logs are getting generated, and you are trying to type your commands in there, because it will coagulate everything, because the system logs for this particular boot to Docker VM and your commands will mess up. So that's why they have done certain default startup as a headless start, which won't generate any CLI. So which would be easy to for you to manage everything from your favorite. If you're working on a Windows system, then it's you can work with a PowerShell, or even in the like or which are the default bash shells, bash CLIs, and if you're in a Mac OS, then you can just open up your bash CLI, or the CLIs which are available, and you can start working or start writing up the code or start commanding your Docker host. Okay. So the same thing, like I have explained the workflows, right? Like how does it actually works? Okay, the complete Docker flow. Let's go and check out container registration. Okay, so whenever container registration is a process where we actually whatever images we are trying to pull from Docker Hub, right? The same images you actually can uh, push, or if you are intended to push your own images, you can do that. Okay, and for that only you need to register your containers. Okay, so here is one particular small example where customer is searching for MongoDB container in Docker Hub Store. Okay, so this wallet portion is a wallet image is a MongoDB from where he can put up this MongoDB container. Okay, so it's an image format, so he can take up this. He founds this with this as a MongoDB, and he founds and he takes up into his own even his own repo, or even in his own desktop. Okay, and then like he can, like after he take this particular changes, and he can make certain changes or customize particular application onto it, run a container using this particular image, customize it, like you can add a few more features to this particular application which is containerized in this particular MongoDB image. Okay, and then he can push back to any of the registry services, and then to Docker Hub. Okay, so it first goes to the your own repository where you create, and then you can publish onto the Docker Hub. Okay, so this is your machine or my laptop from where I'm working. In order to make a customized MongoDB from my end, what I need to do is first I need to take from Docker Hub, which would reference to Azure, which would refer to my account, which will be having my Docker Hub, my hub.docker docker.com credentials, and then I'll be taking up the image. And if I want to, push back onto my repository on Docker, I can do that, and from there only I would be, able to publish onto Docker Hub. Okay, it's not a direct relation like from your laptop. You can directly put onto your Docker Hub or any other container registries like ACS or something. Okay, and so once you have your customized MongoDB, and you can you can take up and pull up that to your repository, or you can pull up to your laptop, or other devs can also pull up that particular customized MongoDB into their laptops and start working on it. Okay, so basically for container registrations and pushing your image to repository, you need to first log in, because whatever commands we have done, okay, and which we have carried out in our bash, we what we did is we didn't do any logins for that. Rather we carried out we carried out directly, and we because we were consuming a public repo, since Docker Hub doc store.dockerhub.com is a public repo, so it doesn't need, or we does not needed, or we didn't needed any sort of token based or authentication based access to get those images. Instead, like now what we are going to do is, like, we are going to access a repo which is which I have created. Okay, and this is my repo which is a repository, and this is called as before the prefix before the slash is the Azure guy. That's my repository name. You need to go to dashboard, and you can create a new repository, And once you create a repository, you can create multiple repositories, and since it's free on Docker, but there's a limitation of creating repositories on Azure. Okay, I'll let you know. And under that particular repository, we have our containers or images which we will be pushing in. Okay, so what we can do is like there are two solutions which I have pushed already. There was some the .NET Core app was there which I pushed in when I did or when I published into my repository. From here we can actually push on to, after pushing into repository, we can actually push into my Docker Hub. Okay, so that is a process of pushing in. Okay, so what we did, what we are going to do is like we are just registering our containers with repositories. That particular thing we're gonna do. One thing is like we will be registering our any of our application with my own repository which is on Docker Hub, and another repository which is there on Azure. Okay, so let's go and perform some activities with respect to my own repository. Okay, so the first thing which you need to boot up, you need to boot up your bash login, and you need to carry out something called as let me maximize the screen. Okay, so you need to run docker. The first command after you log into your bash would be the docker machine ls. So you need to list out whatever you have any docker hosts which are running or not. Okay, since you can see your virtual box is having one particular running command. Okay, you can see that this host is running. Okay, and then this host it says times are timeout. So let me go and kick out. Just let me, I'll pause the video and then I'll just kick this out, and then we'll come up. We just hook up our particular virtual box where our boot to Docker is running on. Okay, you can see initially when I when you make it idle, so it would give you a timeout even if you run Docker machine ls. Okay, and it had gave me timeout because it went to sleep, since it was under no particular jobs were running on that particular Docker host. Okay, and now after triggering a particular request, it woke up and it's showing that there's called a default VM which is running on a virtual box. It's in running state, and this is the IP which you need to access if you're hosting any sort of application on top of it. Okay, I'll go and look out for images if it's there on this particular machine. So when you run Docker images, it would try to fetch all the images which are there in this particular machine, and then it would go. If it's not available in this particular any of the images, then it would whatever you need to mention something like Docker images, and you can give any of the the providers of images like the Microsoft or Nginx, any one of Kitematic even, and it would just list out all of the images which are available from this particular vendor. Okay, let it return. Bear with me if my system is slow. Okay, then sure. Let me. Okay, once more, like I have logged in with my credentials for Azure's ACR. I'll just log out if it's not logged out. Okay, it's had automatically logged out. So our first command which we're gonna run for registering is like, since we got a lot of images which are there at the local images, these are the images which we have. So what we're gonna do is like we're gonna build our own sample. Okay, and I'm gonna build a sample from this .NET samples code. Okay, so what I did is like I went and I just took a pull and I just pulled this particular Docker pull, and I just pulled up all the code which was from Docker Hub. I pulled this particular code. For that, what you need to do is like you need to Docker pull Microsoft.NET samples. You can take up any of the examples to for this particular demo. And once I got this all particular, all of the code image into my local, and then I made few of the samples, or I made my own image out of it. Let me go and remove certain images directly from here. For removing an image, what we do is like we can mention F1, F6. That's image name. Okay. Since they are running, I need to stop the image, or I need to post remove it. We have a post remove command as well. I'll just stop the process. I'll stop the containers first. So for just checking out containers, I just type docker ps -a. Okay, and this is a container which is saying okay. So let's make, so instead of deleting it, I'll just create one more. Um, I have this particular container. Out of this container, I can make an image. I'll first make an image, and then this particular image I need to push into my own repo, which is on Docker Hub, and another repo which is on Azure. Okay, let's do the first thing. I'll just Docker commit, and I'll take up the container uh, name, container ID, which is 6F7CA. You can make as many images as possible. There are only for, three alphabets which are required. You doesn't need to provide all of this 4 or 5. And I need to give the name of my image. So name of my image would be my.NET samples v1.0, or I just type v1. Okay, okay, lowercase v1. Okay, so this should go and take up this container and build an image out of it. Okay, and provide a new image reference ID to it. Let it process. Okay, so it gave this particular reference ID which it had made already. So if I go and check for images, then we should be able to see my own my .NET samples v1. Okay, we starts with 30C33, which is nothing but the show ID which has been shown after creation of this particular image. So once I have image, I need to push this image. Okay, how to push this image? But before pushing, I need to log into my Docker Hub, right? So I need to log into this particular Docker repository. So my username for this particular Docker Hub repository, my own repository, would be the Azure guy and the password. Okay, so I'll go. Sorry. So this is a command docker login -u everything. So I pulled up my code. I shown up the images whatever I have. Even I can run that particular code and show up on the port 8080, and I can run and show that particular application as well. But I can try to find my Docker machine IP as well. What I need to do is like now I need to commit that particular code into my this one. So in order to do that, what I can do is like I can, but before committing, I need to give my this particular Docker login commands. So it's nothing but I'll just go. I'll just type Docker. So it says Docker login -u, that's my username. Okay, and -p, that's my password. Okay, and I just say login. So it would say you can put as password stdin, so that you will have hashed format of the password. My login is succeeded. I'm logged into my Docker repo, and now we'll call something else Docker. I need to tag it. Okay, I need to tag my tag command, docker tag. I will be tagging my container. So my container name, I need to run the container, right? So let's then run the container first before proceeding on to, because we wanna publish our container to our container repository, right? So we need to run this particular image ID. So what I'll do is like docker run, and I'll select my image ID. So my image ID is 30C33, 30CC33, and I can give my port number as well. Port number as well. It's port port 8080. It's host port. This is my port. So it would, I'm saying that, but to run this particular image. Okay, so it would run this particular image. So what it does is like it would run this particular image in that particular host. Okay, and this application which it's running on platform.net core 2.0, means the container on which, or the image which we bought up, has .NET Core framework, and the OS which is it's running is the Linux boot to Docker, on which we are running this particular commands. Or our Linux host is the boot to Docker, and the version of Linux is this one. Okay, so this particular logo shows that we are running our container successfully. In order to check containers, you can do docker ps hyphen dash a at any moment of time, and it should show up a new container with the name of our image ID. So the previous image was also, our image is this one, 30cc3, and our container is 1227. So I'm gonna use this particular container ID 1227. Okay, before that I need to commit. Okay, no commit. First you need to tag, and if we give the container ID, and then we need to give the repo name. Okay, the repo name is the Azure guy. Okay, and let us verify the syntax once. Yes, I need to tag it. Okay, this is my container ID, and this is the Azure guy, and this is my name of and if you want to check the format of it, you can check the format, and this is a name. This is my container, and this is my name of my image, or how do you want to store. Okay, so I'll go back to the console. The shotgun, that's my repo name, and my code name was, I can copy my image name, or let me go and list out my image name as well. So my image name is my .NET sample is one. So let's write the commands docker tag, and you can give the author name as well, like in this. So you can give the author name, okay, before committing, like the dash a as well, and this is and the name. So so you can see the format. There is your guide, my .NET samples. The same thing. What we're gonna do is like we'll go to our code. We'll tag our container ID, this is 1227 E, and 1227 E, and the Azure guy, let me put, spell it right, the Azure guy slash the name, should be copied, paste, and paste it. Okay, let's give the image ID. It's taking the image ID. So my image name is of this is 30C, 30C3. Okay, so it had tagged it. I need to now. I have tagged. I just need to push it. Docker push into what you need to push. I just tagged an image ID with the name. So I'm good to just use an name and push my code. This push refers to repository docker.io, the Azure guy, and blah blah blah. So you can see my code is getting, or my container is getting pushed onto the my own repo, which is there on the Docker Hub. Let me refresh. If you don't have any repo, and you can create repo manually, and as well you can do via GUI as well. So let it push. The push is still happening. Okay. So the push should happen, and it is pushed. My documents is one. Yes, you can see my .NET samples v1 had appeared in here, and when you click this particular image, this can be, since this is made, the privacy is public, people can pull this particular image using this particular direct commands. So that's how you push an image to your own Docker Hub repo. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, like, I'll just log out in case, because I'm logged into my Docker Hub, right? I just log out. That's best practice. Okay, so it had remote login credentials for this one, and I am want to push the same image to my Azure Container Registration Services. Okay, registry. What I would do is, like, I'll just go and I'll show up. How does that look? And this is my Azure Container Registry, which I created. You can create the Azure Container Registry via two ways. You can run a command, something called as of the commands. So what I'll I'll talk about what about so Azure Container Registry is nothing but it's the same collection as Docker Hub, as a collection of containers, images, whatever people customize, and you can put the same images, and not in only Docker Hub. You can put in various vendors container registry. So one particular container registry which is provided from Azure is Azure Container Registry. So what you can have is, like, the profit of putting your code onto Azure Container Registry is, like, you have a good amount of integration with Docker Swarm, DSOS, and Kubernetes. Okay, since I'll talk about Kubernetes and the Swarm or Mesos in later part. Whether you take Kubernetes or Docker, it's they are containerization frameworks. Okay, which helps you in pushing your application into swarms, or even manage the code, certificates, nodes, everything. Okay, with this particular Kubernetes or Docker. You can see that Docker, what it can do is, like, it can spin up multiple nodes or hosts, and run code on top of it, or create containers on top of that particular host. Since in this particular demo, what we are tackling is, we have one particular single Docker client or Docker host on which we are running our all of the containers. We can have multiple containers or multiple Docker hosts itself, so that we can put our distributed application on top of it and run them across the globe. Okay. The same thing, in order to achieve that particular scalability, we need to have our images onto any of the favorable Azure resources places like Azure Container Registry. So how do you create Azure Container Registry? It's like you can go directly and type Azure Container Registry, or you can directly use this particular command from your CLI AZACR Azure Container Registry. AZ is Azure ACR create. You need to give the registry name which I have given, and the resource group. Okay, that's indicated by -g, and the name is -n, and -i is the reason name. Those particular parameters are sufficient to create a Azure Container Registry. Okay, so so like once you have your Azure Container Registry created, so it would look like this. It will have a login server, since again the Azure Container Service, which is a space where you want to put up your images. Okay, and you can interact with this particular images as well. And this is the name which we have given while creating the Azure guy ACR. Okay, Azure Container Registry, and it would end up with suffix with .azure.cr.io. Okay, and it has provision, and you have something called as access key. Okay, and you can find this access key in here. I would be scrolling down, and I want to show you the password, and that's the access key you require. And when you enable in the initially when you create up your Azure ACR, then you need to have an admin user called as enable this particular admin user. If you do that, you can use this particular the registry ACR name itself as an admin user name. Okay, that's the best part of it. And please don't remember to check that while creating ACR. And once you created ACR, and you can see that like you have a quota of 10 GB of images only you can keep in ACR. And if you want to check, I have created my own repository, and I have checked in my code into it. Okay, my image into it, or my container into it. I registered my container into this particular. So my .NET samples is already checked in, or it had registered. What I need to do is like I need to now I would love to go and publish one more repository which has a similar image only, but with a different naming. Okay, so I'll go and I'll take up this particular two commands which says docker. The one thing is like what we did is docker tag and the image name, everything we have done, right? The same thing what we're gonna do now is like the same thing is like the difference is like the name of the repository is the difference. And before that we need to log into our Azure this one. And for logging in, what I would do is like I would go and select my login uh, commands: docker login -u, my username, my password, and the URL for my Azure guy ACR dot this one. Okay, so go fast and copy it. Let's copy my I run. Same you need to docker login command. I just paste it for you. Okay, I just paste it and I ran, and my login is succeeded. Okay, and then what I gonna do is like, okay, I'll just go back, and my login is succeeded. Once my login is succeeded, I'll just go and I'll grab my this particular code. So my repo name, which was the image which I want to run is, which I want to push is docker. I'll get that image name. Okay, so that is my .NET sample one, and this is my .NET samples. So I'll just paste that name with the instead of the previous repo which was on Docker. We'll be interested in posting out the new into our repo. Okay, my samples. So that is tagged, and now after we have tagged, we just run docker push and, and the complete. Okay, so it's preparing and trying to push this particular image into my Azure Container Registry, and it should register with samples v1. Let let us go back and check whether it had registered. So I just refresh. Yes, it has registered, and it would push its image to it. And now it's available in here, and then you can go for replication, which is in preview right now, and you can do other more activities which will be coming in further videos. Okay, and after that is done, like it would push up all of my images onto register my container onto ACR as well. Okay, so these are bits of pieces which we are carrying out now, and then we'll have complete CI/CD setup, which actually can go and take up everything, which would take up each and every bits and pieces which we are talking, and we can make a complete pipeline out of it, and then show up a very good demo out of it. So what you can do is, like, once it's on to that this particular space into this particular container registry, you can pull. How you can pull with the same normal as usual Docker pull command. So that is Docker pull. You need to give the repo name and the and this one. Okay, so that's a thing with Docker pull. So so how Dockers can be useful is, like, one particular implementation which we are going to do is we will be doing in future is, like, you can set up complete automated workflow, or continuous integration and continuous deployment sort of pipeline, where actually you can set up your uh, you can use this particular containerization technology. Once your developer builds out your application, he posts onto your any of the repos, like it can be Bitbucket or GitHub, or it can be VSTS itself. And after you carry out the testing, you can have your container registry. Means your code would get registered, or image you would make, and it would get registered with container registry, any of the container registry services, like it can be Azure ACR or Docker Hub. And then you can, from there, or you can push that particular container, or deploy that particular ready-made available container onto your Google Cloud or Cloud Analytics or Windows Azure, or on your own premise as well, or Kubernetes, anywhere you can deploy it. Okay, so that's a thing which we are looking into, like we will be putting out or making a complete CI/CD pipeline to deploy a multi-container application on Azure Container Services. Okay, so there is something called ACR and ACS as well. With Docker Swarm, we're gonna use, and we're gonna use VSTS. So this is a complete flow, and which we're gonna achieve. When I'll be ready with the demo, I'll explain this particular thing. Okay, you can see the Azure Container Registry, which is required each and every places if you are putting up your code onto the Azure. So whatever build you make or images you make out of it, you need to register with ACR, and then the images would be available in the ACR, and any ones like Kubernetes or Docker Swarm can pull out this image from the ACR, and it can deploy or run or make container out of this particular images from ACR, and then make it available to a lot of nodes. Okay, so that's a thing. And the similar thing which I talked about, the publish, it's I have done for .NET Core app. If you're running a .NET app, okay, you can run that as well. And I'll show up that one as well. So I have run this particular .NET Core app. Okay, so this is a basic difference of containers and virtual machines. Okay, so virtual machines will have it has its own guest OS and all application libraries, everything. But for containers, what we have is we have Docker in common for all of the applications, and we have just all the relevant related frameworks, or for libraries, everything engulfed in the container. Okay, so so we ran this particular, the basic command which we ran on the containers are docker run hello world, which would give you output stating that the container is working fine, and you can get the version of a Docker machine by -- version after the docker command. Okay, and So what we're gonna have, like when we start building up out applications, you have something called as containerized applications. You need to first develop a container, and then you bring up services on top of it, and then you build a complete stack on top of it. Okay, so for that, let's dockerize our normal ASP.NET application. So what I did is I went and I just why do we choose a .NET or ASP.NET Core instead of ASP.NET Framework? Okay, so ASP.NET Core is a lightweight version, and it's open source. Okay, and you can run this particular .NET Core framework in anywhere, but .NET framework which was existing in we have from .NET Framework 2.0, and right now we have something 4.5, which can't be run on Linux or Mac machines easily. But in order to Microsoft MSN made its own ASP.NET framework as open source by introducing this particular ASP.NET Core. Okay, so what it can do is like you can use it any of the open source boxes. You can develop on top of .NET Core and run your ASP.NET Core apps cross platform across Windows, iOS, Mac OS, or Linux, anywhere. And this is great for building your modern cloud-based apps such as web apps, IoTs, and mobile backends because it's more lightweight than the .NET Framework apps built on .NET Framework. And ASP.NET Core apps can run on .NET Core or on the full .NET Framework. It has a backward compatibility as well. Okay, it's designed to provide an optimized development framework for apps, and it has modular components as well. Okay, so going further, not much theoretical concepts. Let's go further, and for creating a Docker file for an ASP.NET Core file, you need to create a Docker file. So I have such a Docker file, and my Docker file has simply this particular commands. Okay, so my Docker file would define everything. Okay, so what particular framework, because it's sort of all configuration file. It would show what it's sort of starter file which would run when you start up a container. Okay, so what it would do is like it redirects to, it says that these are the dependency files which need to be gathered before run this particular .NET Core application. You need to gather ASP.NET Core build 2.0. Now the build environment it is mentioned is like where you need to, after successful build, you need to keep the code is work directory /app. Okay, and then you need to copy, and these are the after defining the work directory, you have which particular .cs project you need to trigger, what you need to copy, and which particular file need to be run, and what need to be published, and where this particular published file need to be kept. Okay, and then once that happens, you need to build a particular image, Okay, and at the image, what it would mention is like it would say that run runtime, get the runtime libraries like ASP.NET Core 2.0 and run the application from work directory /app, because where we have stored our files, and copy all the bin environment, and then entry points it has defined. And then so for making this build context as much as possible, we add this particular Docker, something called as .docker ignore file to our projects. Okay, so which has /bin and /object. And if you want to access this particular code is available on Docker on GitHub as well. Okay, and let me search that for you. .NET Core GitHub. .NET Docker samples. So this, see the location where you can get them, and you can search. So this has this .NET Core samples, and the particular .NET Core app which we are installed is ASP.NET app, which is built on .NET Core app. We have the .NET Docker ignore file, and we have the Docker file. Okay, so the same content which we have mentioned is in this here. It has Docker file, and it has this content, and Docker ignore file has which has /bin and /object instructions. What we did is like we ran this particular, since I have issues with my Windows hyper Docker VirtualBox, which is running on my Docker complete installation, which was running on Windows, had corrupted. That's why I'm running my Docker Hub installation on my Mac. Okay, and showing up this demo. Okay, and this particular .NET sample would work on Windows. This particular content would work or run, or you can develop or publish on your Windows machine only. So I tried to build Docker build -t ASP.NET app, and it has showing up. I don't know what is the issue with if you can't run this particular ASP.NET app, which says that it can't run on Windows on top of the physical layer, the physical OS, which is, or the wide OS layer, physical OS, which is there on this particular machine is Windows, and they can't run up one more virtualized Windows on top of this. I'm being thrown up with that particular issue. That's why it was only I was able to run that particular thing on, instead of Mac, I was able to run on this. I have captured certain screenshots where I'm building this particular -t ASP.NET app. Okay, and then so it would run everything, and it has all of the steps which we have mentioned in the work directory, everything step by step, and it would carry out all the steps, and it would run your application on the said IP. Okay, so once that is done, what you can do is like once you build the application, you would run that application. I would run that application on my Docker run. -d is the directory, -p, and the port number I'm mentioning, and name is my app, ASP.NET app. Okay, so you can see that that particular app was running on this particular 880 port number. Okay, so this is basic .NET Core app which I was able to run, and you can make a image out of it, and I have done that. Docker commit, and I took that particular container ID and they gave that new name, customized image name. So you can see when I do ps-a, it would show up all of the containers which are running and the image ID from which they would have been made up. Okay, and then so I can run my customized the image as well, which where Docker run in the image name. Once that is done, I can show up the image IDs which are containers. You can see the new container which is also running, which we have built from the running container. So that's the thing. You can like here also I have shown up the same example where I'm trying to push this particular image onto my Docker Hub repo. Okay, and in this repo I have pushed in my image, and you can see my image is available, my .NET Core app. Okay, that's a image push which I pushed into my repository by this commands. Okay. It's the same thing. So like I create a repository, and it shows up like how to create a repository and how to remove a particular image if not required, and how to get an image from Docker Hub. Okay, and shows up how to log into this one which I've shown up in the demo already. Okay, the same way like I have Dockerized my own .NET Core app, right? You guys can go and Dockerize any of the PHP application. Okay, if you do that, you may require Nginx loaded onto or Nginx loaded or installed on your machine before you carry out that particular process, or if you're trying to Dockerize a PHP applications. Okay. So that's it for today, and let's complete our CI/CD on our next video. Thank you.